The Los Angeles Rams heading up the coast to Seattle to take on the Seahawks for week 1 of the 2023 NFL season. Of course, both teams 0-0, as of course, no games have been played yet. This game kicks off at Lumen Field this Sunday, September 10th at 1:25 Pacific time. That is local time for both of the cities that these teams are from. So Kevin Kugler and Mark Sanchez on the call. They'll be in the booth with Laura Oakman on the sideline. This game is televised on Fox. But not everywhere. The main game, of course, being televised is that Packers game, Packers and Bears. But the Rams get a pretty good chunk of just that whole West Coast over there. So it is in the blue zones. You got it up on your screen here to put your eyeballs on that. Some notes here. So September 10th, 1937. Yeah, that's right. The 86th anniversary of the Rams' first ever game. Although we do got to put that little asterisk in there that the Rams did start in 36, but only 2 players and no coaches came back into 37. So they counted as a separate entity. Either way, the official Rams in this entity right now celebrating their 86th anniversary for their first game on Sunday, which is very cool stuff. Some milestones to watch out for in this game, as well as just the whole season for you, is Matthew Stafford will start with. He's going to enter 2023 needing 4,941 yards to enter the top 10 all-time in passing yards. That is going to be passing Eli Manning, who is currently 10th. So hopefully at some point this season, although that is a hefty season, 49-41 is what Stafford would need. Then Eli Manning getting dropped into out of the top 10 would be pretty sweet stuff, but also, like I said, that is a hefty amount of passing yards. Stafford also needs 33 touchdown passes to enter the top 10 all-time in that regard as well, so we're pulling for that. 33 doesn't seem outside of the realm of possibilities, although that is, again, a pretty hefty number. So it does feel like maybe that would leak into next year, but we still got this full season, and we can put up a 5,000-yard year with 33-plus touchdowns out of Stafford. Heck yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Also, he needs 525 passing yards within the first 9 games, which is obviously a pretty low average, to pass Peyton Manning for third most ever in the first 200 games of your career. And if he was able to do that in the first 9 games with 2,268 yards, he would get second fastest or second most passing yards in that realm, passing Matt Ryan, who actually is in second right now. Some other milestones you are watching for this season. Tyler Higbee, he needs 61 catches to pass Robert Woods for 8th most in Rams history, which is very exciting stuff. 61 feels very doable for Tyler Higbee, so he could creep into 8th most receptions in Rams franchise history. With just 2 touchdowns, Tyler Higbee can move into the top 10 in Rams history, passing Preston Denard. So he's right in line there. Just 2 touchdowns to get in there. 3 touchdowns to pass Jack Snow. 4 touchdowns to pass Robert Woods. 7 to pass Flipper Anderson. And 8 to pass Marshall Faulk. All of those are extremely realistic. So he could be passing Preston Denard, Jack Snow, Robert Woods, Flipper Anderson, and Marshall Faulk in the touchdown reception list in Rams franchise history. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp, who will not be appearing in this game, needs 85 receptions to pass Henry Ellard for third most in franchise history, and 3 touchdowns to become third in franchise history, also passing Ellard, who currently does have 48. Cooper Kupp's 46 career receiving touchdowns does keep him in 4th right now, but it feels real that depending on when Cooper Kupp gets back into the offense, that 3 touchdown receptions does feel very realistic. So by the end of this season, it's very real that Cooper Kupp will be 3rd in that category in Rams franchise history. Aaron Donald needs just 14 tackles to pass Alec Ogletree to become the team's 2nd all-time leading tackler, with that title of number 1 officially still being held by James Laurinaitis, who, to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm not correct here, is one of 2 Ohio State linebackers who lead NFL teams all time in tackles, with the other being A.J. Hawk with the Green Bay Packers. So we're obviously, there's a lot of things to look for in this game. It's, of course, week 1, so I don't really have even like a full offensive and defensive breakdown for you, but we'll talk about this game in a different sense because the Rams are coming into this game after a 5-win season and an offseason full of difficult decisions. Again, let's not pretend like they weren't. So the Rams did, they entered the offseason after falling to the Seahawks in Week 18 last year, wondering if desperately clinging to the talent on the roster or dumping some large cap numbers on some aging players that were tied to some aging players, whether that was the move, right? So to get a little younger, you get rid of a little bit of cap space. It seemed like obviously that is what the Rams decided to do, but that was part of the decision. That's a very tough decision to make for an NFL team. We know that the Rams chose the latter, of course, and now enter the season with many questions to answer. There's a lot more questions to answer than we have answers for. That is for sure. Of course, we'll get those as the season goes on. It might not be the answers that we all want, but we will get those questions answered. It's not inherently a bad thing, though, that we go in with some unknown. I think that's totally cool. The Rams do have talent, albeit young and unproven. Not every young guy the Rams brought in will pan out. To think that none of them will, though, I think that's just silly. I don't think that to think that none of these guys are going to be awesome is definitely silly. And I realize that when you don't know a lot of the guys, and we had so many rookies coming in training camp and preseason, that it's hard to get behind them because you just don't know them. And if you're anything like me, I work on Saturdays, so I don't watch a lot of college football. I didn't watch these guys play all last year. I was working. So I realize that the unknown is a scary thing, and it is one of those things of like, well, like if we have, I don't know, man, is this guy good or not? And maybe they're not, but to say that all of them are not going to be good, silly for sure. That is the correct word there. The Rams, they come into 2023 in the NFC, which is already quite the toss-up. With the two teams that were in the NFC Championship game, they're the clear-cut favorites to make it back, although I really think that we see two different teams in those slots this season. Getting lucky a few times throughout the season could be all it takes to make it to the postseason, where all bets are off and it's anyone's game. All you got to do is make it to the playoffs, and it is anybody's game. This game against the Seahawks is the first chance that the Rams have to show what this young, talented roster can do. And even being out guys like Cooper Kupp, well, that just opens the door for more young guys to show what they can do. Not only will we get a good view of some of these young guys, but the coaches now have everything in front of them. This year, we get to really know exactly how good of a coach Sean McVay is, how Raheem Morris can take a young group and put it together. Maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's better than we expect it to be. That's also a possibility. The fun part is, though, is not knowing whether it's going to be boom or bust right now. And we don't have to know that right now. To ask Rams fans what to expect from this season prompts some pretty wild answers. And you can get all the way from, I've talked to people that say this team is not going to win more than 2 games. It's not possible with the way that this roster is set up. It's just not possible. This team's going to win more than 2 games. And then also, I've heard from people that say the Rams are going to win the division and win 12 games and probably get the home field advantage, because if you look at the other teams in the NFC and the toughness of their divisions, the Rams could absolutely rise from that and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But on Sunday, we take our first step in one of these directions, one of these 2 wild directions. Realistically, we probably land somewhere right in the middle, right? between the 2-12 win mark. I'm guessing that's probably about right. That's a very large window of games to hit, but I feel very confident that between 2 and 12 wins is where the Rams are going to kind of wiggle themselves into. I don't think this is a team that's going to be pushing for a number 1 overall pick, and I also don't think that this is going to be a team pushing for the home field advantage in the postseason. I think that this team's going to be fighting for the division potentially throughout the season, and also potentially fighting just for a wild card spot. And again, once you get there, all bets are off, all right? And we've also got guys on this team who've been there before and have done it before. Matthew Stafford knows how to rally guys. If Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Jordan Fuller, these guys have been here and know what it takes to kick a bunch of butt cheeks and win in the playoffs for sure. The history of this matchup, this is going to be the 52nd meeting all time. 27-24, the Seahawks do lead the all-time series, so hopefully the Rams can wiggle their way back into closing that gap up a little bit. Total points scored, very snug as well. The Rams have scored 1,066, while the Seahawks have scored 1,087. So we could take that this week, which would be super cool stuff, obviously. The current streak of this series is the Seahawks. They did just sweep the Rams last year, so their streak is 2. And then the most recent game between these two, came week 18 of last season, where the Rams did fall in overtime, which is super unfortunate, not only for the Rams, but also for the Lions, because if the Rams won that game, well, we know that the Lions ended up winning their game, and they would have been a playoff team. But that is, of course, not what happened. Sorry about it, Lions. Sorry, Jared. I don't know what to tell you. That's all I got for you. Some connections between these two teams. So on the Seahawks, their offensive coordinator is Shane Waldron, who did spend time with the Rams between 2017 and 2020. Offensive line coach Andy Dickerson with the Rams for a good chunk of time, 2012 all the way to 2020. Defensive assistant Damian Lewis, that's a name you might recognize from the St. Louis Rams defensive line, as he was a player from 2001 until 2005 for the Rams. And then, of course, linebacker Bobby Wagner, who did spend last season as a Los Angeles Ram and honestly killed it. Had a great season. It sucks to see him go back, but it also just makes sense. Like, it's like Bobby Wagner, I get like getting the news that Bobby Wagner's going back to the Seahawks. It's like, yeah, like it was fun, but yeah, that makes sense. Like, it just, I don't know, it checks out to me. But Bobby Wagner, of course, now I hope he sucks. Now I hope he's terrible, and I hope that he loses all of his football games. But he was awesome last year. So, yeah, I mean, he's a hard player not to respect, even when he's on your rival. And on the Rams, secondary coach Chris Beek, he was with the Seahawks in 2008, 2009. Quarterback coach Zach Robinson, he was there in 2010 as a player. And then wide receiver coach Eric Yarbs, he was out there in 98. Yarbs is awesome. Big fan of Yarbs. I think he does a great job with the wide receivers for the Rams. And he's just a cool dude. Cool dude. And then the list of like former guy or like guys who have been teammates with each other, nothing really stuck out to me outside of the fact that Van Jefferson and DK Metcalf did play 2 seasons together at Ole Miss. Of course, this was before Van Jefferson went over to Florida to be a Gator. Again, I don't have really like matchups for you as far as like diving into the numbers where I put up the whole screen and we can see what like the matchup because, well, they're all zeros right now. And right now the Rams are tied for first in everything. So that's good news, I guess. But no point in really diving into the matchup itself like that. But what I can do for you and what I want to do for you is give you 3 to see on offense and on defense. So these are guys that we're going to be watching because, of course, the Rams on offense, we don't really know what to expect. We're down Cooper Kupp right now, but we haven't had Matthew Stafford in a while. Cam Akers ended the season real strong. Tyler Higbee's best tight end in Rams history. Our offensive line is finally put back together, not so beat up. So there's a lot of question marks when it comes to this side of the football. And also on the defensive side of the football. There's a lot of things that changed on that on there as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the offense first, though, with quarterback Matthew Stafford. He did miss a good chunk of time last year, but he also says that he's feeling better this year at this point of the offseason that he has in quite a while. So if that is true, we should see it pretty quick, right? We should be able to see a Matthew Stafford doing a pretty good job in week 1 against the Seahawks. If he really is feeling better right now than he has in years at this point of the season, then we should see, realistically speaking, a pretty good Matthew Stafford in Seattle in week 1. Next up, I'll go with Cam Akers. Cam was on fire at the end of last season, and without Cooper Kupp on the football field, of course, this is the perfect opportunity to show that he can continue what he did last year and just kind of keep that rolling, and that the offseason, that it worked, like that everybody kind of buckled in and just kind of did what they needed to do, and we're good to go. My cat is eyeballing my camera, so if it falls down, I do apologize. He's going nuts over here. All right. Carl's not used to me recording anymore. And then Puka Nacua is going to be my final one on the offensive side here. The rookie is going to join Jefferson and Sko as critical parts of the offense in week 1 in Kupp's absence. And our first chance to see the work that Puka Nacua did during the training camp and preseason era. So I'm excited to see Puka out there officially getting some reps and necessary reps. He needs to play. We need him to play. We need him to not only play, but we also need him to play well. Without Cooper Kupp out there, you need other guys to step up. And Puka seems to be that kind of guy, right? It stands to reason that Puka he was kind of brought here for that reason, to be that kind of player, that Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp-ish kind of player, because they're pretty similar styles there. And then defensive side of the football here, we're going to go with Aaron Donald, obviously. We'll go, what kind of Rams show is this if I'm not talking about how cool Aaron Donald is? So after missing some time last year for sure, Aaron Donald seems to have the fire in his stomach, and yes, that's a shot at the Cardinals. But he seems to have that fire back, and there's some big name departures on defense. AD definitely needs to shine for this defense to get off the football field, and I think that he knows that. I think that he knows when you lose a Bobby Wagner and a Jalen Ramsey that a little bit more pressure gets added to your shoulders. But luckily, those shoulders can lift buses and airplanes and stuff because he's Aaron Donald. So I feel okay with that. I feel okay needing to put some pressure onto Aaron Donald when it comes to the defensive side of the football. I think that that's totally reasonable. And then next up, we'll go with Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones is a captain for the first time in his career, but not only does he get the C patch, he also gets the green dot. Expect a conversation between Jones and Bobby Wagner before the game. And I think that ultimately this will be one of those motivation things where Bobby Wagner, of course, he wants to win the football game, but I think it'll be one of those things where he kind of talks to Ernest Jones in a way of like, dude, you got this, and I think that that conversation on top of the fact that Ernest Jones already seems like primed for a total breakout. But then I think that the reason I'm mentioning that conversation is because he was Bobby Wagner was such a leader for Ernest Jones last year. And so to have him, even though he's not on the same team anymore, to have him there, to kind of just like he comes in now, he's got the green dot, he's got the C on his jersey, and he sees the guy that he kind of studied all last year. I think that's going to be very good for Ernest Jones. So I'm giving him this one as part of my 3 to C. But he also is coming off of his game where he had the most career tackles in his career in Week 18 against the Seahawks just this last year, which, in fairness, it was 5. I think he's going to beat that multiple times this year. I would be surprised if he doesn't. I think that 5 is going to be like the base for Ernest Jones coming in this year. But I'm excited for Ernest Jones. He's one of the guys I'm really, really, really pumped for going into this season. And then on my final on the 3 to C on the defensive side of the football, we're going to go to Kobe Durant and Darian Kendrick. Combo package there. The loss of Ramsey cannot be understated. Absolutely not. It is certainly a hit to the Rams secondary, but these two young guys are in the perfect spot to step it on up. Strong performances out of these two players, which absolutely could happen, could kind of change the tune of Rams fans and national media alike, and change their tune in to how the season for the Los Angeles Rams will unfold. Because obviously, the narrative right now is that this team is not very good, not going to win a lot of football games. But hey, a good showing in Week 1, and like if Stafford's on, if Atwell decides that this is the year that he's going to pop, if Jefferson pops, if Ernest Jones, Kobe Durant, Darian Kendrick, if these guys step up and are really, really good this year, then I think that that tune will change rather quick. As of course the Seahawks being talked about as a playoff team, and then Week 2. I mean, we'll get into it of course next week, but Week 2 we got the 49ers coming to town, and if the Rams could exit these 2 weeks 2-0, then I mean the tune is going to change, and then of course the conversation is going to be like, well, they got Cincinnati Week 3. They got Indy Week 4. They got Philly Week 5. But either way, these first 5 weeks or so, even if the Rams are not winning these games, but if they are in these games and competing, I think that the narrative is going to change. Not only from the national media perspective, but from also the Rams fans, because I know Rams fans are pretty down right now. The whole mood of the fan base is very dejected. I don't really. I'm not in that group. I'm just excited for Rams football to come back. Maybe we're terrible. Maybe it's bad. Well, I'm still so excited for the season. I'm going to be excited for next season and the one after that and the one after that. So I'm kind of here for whatever. I know that not every fan loves to hear that. That winning's a lot more fun, but losing's whatever. I'm still going to be here. So I mean, I'm kind of indifferent on it all. But hey, that Super Bowl was so sick, right? And also, let me ask you this, all right? Let me just go ahead and pump these brakes just a little bit, all right? So if I take you back, I talked about this on Ram Showcase Live, streaming every Monday on Ram Showcase YouTube and Facebook pages. Just a live stream, a little bit more casual, where we just have conversations. Rams fans can join on the stream with me. So if that's something you're interested in, every single Monday, all throughout the year, that's going to happen and all that. So either way, that's a fun time. But let me take you back to Week 1, 2021 season before the Rams and Bears faced off, right? So if I were to go before that game even happens, before Stafford hits Jefferson for that first touchdown, if I would have said to you, the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl this year, but the next 2 or 3 seasons might be rough, what is your answer to that? Like, do you say yes to that? If I'm asking you, like, hey, the Rams will win the Super Bowl this year, but what I'm going to need from you is to accept that the next 2 or 3 years might be kind of lame and you're going to lose a lot of games. What do you say? I say yes immediately. I don't even think about it. It's like, because my brain goes back to the whole like ending of the 2000s before 2010 of the Rams, and what I would have murdered family members to see this team in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's kind of where my mindset goes. I zoom out a little bit, all right? Because like, yeah, we're coming off of a 5-win season. Going into this year can look a little bleak depending on your perspective on things. But I also remember that I got the Super Bowl ring sitting right here. I got Super Bowl stuff all around me here, and I'm okay with that. If it means a couple of lame seasons before we can start building back up a championship roster, then okay. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. But either way, that's the thing, is that that's not promised. Being bad this year is not promised. It might not be. So let's just have fun, right? That's kind of my whole point, is like, let's just have fun and watch the Rams and have a good time. That's what it's all about. I think too, I get into the mindset of like, I don't know. I like the ride of it. I like the ride. I like the I like getting together with the bros on a Sunday and watching, Tyler Higbee score touchdowns. We all high five and stuff like that. Like, I love that. That's my favorite part of it all. Like, yeah, it's cool to watch the Rams win, but got my homies there. Got some good food, good people. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about, right? So that's from my own perspective. But that is it. That's our game preview. Rams Seahawks Week 1. This coming Sunday, Lumen Field, televised on Fox in select areas, of course. But I'm pumped about it. Also, heads up, I'm not going to be doing my pregame live streams this year. I'm taking Sunday as a fan. I've decided that I've added the live stream on Mondays. I brought back the video versions of the game previews, and I'm going to go ahead and take Sundays to myself and just kind of hang it out there. So but that is going to do it for me. Again, any sponsorship or advertising opportunities, please email ramsshowcase@gmail.com. I will be able to respond to you that way. ramsshowcase.com for all the latest surrounding the show and myself, game preview stuff there as well. But that is it for me. We got Week 1 coming up, and I'm pumped about it. Let's go, right? But yeah, thanks for hanging out and participating in the Ram Showcase madness. We're back at it, man. We're back at it. I'm pumped about it. It's good stuff, though. Thanks for hanging out with me. I am Sheriff Joe Baggs. Make sure to follow on all your favorite social media at Ram Showcase, at Sheriff Joe Baggs. But that is going to do it for me. I am Sheriff Joe Baggs. This has been Ram Showcase on Sports War Radio and the Fansided Network. For those of you who aren't Rams fans, our thoughts and prayers are with you. For those of you who are Rams fans, thank you so much for listening, and go Rams.